Hello, my name is Chance Bowen. This is the Paint the Town Red podcast, and today is unlike any other day because I'm doing a show on Saturday. I'm going to start doing shows on Saturdays because why not? We have a country to save, and there's no time for days off. Of course, we will take Sunday off because I have church. Church is important. Today we have Trump raises H-1B visas fee to $100,000. The Trump administration has issued an executive order increasing the annual fee for H-1B work visas to $100,000, which could drastically affect U.S. tech firms that rely on foreign talent. Critics warn this could slow innovation and raise labor costs. A few thoughts on this myself. First, immediately, we know who the people are going to be upset about this. Those are the Indian people, because the US, unfortunately, relies on Indians to do a lot of our tech engineering. And this is kind of saddening to me. I feel like, the Americans here could definitely do the work. Maybe we don't have the incentives, or maybe we're too spoiled in order to get the job done or to get the degrees that are needed to do the job. Whatever the case may be, our environment is not conducive to having the US native people do the work. So instead, we rely on India. Trump is trying to increase the price, which will then just, the people that are from India actually are not going to, they're not going to be mad. They're not going to be the ones paying the 100,000. It will probably be the tech companies themselves. And then what the tech companies will do is take the amount of money they would have spent on bringing people over here and instead maybe spend that $100,000 on trying to invest into colleges for native people to get degrees to then become engineers. So I think that's what's behind what Trump is trying to do here. This is kind of interesting in a time when we seem to be shipping over a ton of Indians over here to our country. And some people have a conspiracy theory that, well, maybe we're gearing up for World War III, so we're trying to build the relations with India. So that way, if we do go to World War III with Russia and China, well, then we will have India on our side. But these recent deals that are being made from Trump, like the tariffs on India and like this now recent move, seems that we may be parting from India in some ways. The House is divided over Charlie Kirk's resolution. The U.S. House passed a resolution honoring conservative activist Charlie Kirk following his assassination. It passed 310 to 58. The 58 were all Democrats, and 38 present abstained. So out of the 58, 38 of them just abstained. Supporters say it condemns political violence, while critics argue the resolution glorifies controversial positions held by Charlie Kirk. Some of those Democrats who voted against this were AOC, Ocasio something Cortez, and Jasmeet. Sorry, not Jasmeet. Is it Jasmeet Crockett? Let me look it up. I think it's Jasmeet Crockett. Let me make sure 100%. Jasmine Crockett. Okay. So Jasmine Crockett, another one who voted against this resolution. And this kind of brings me to the topic of today, which is that we cannot politically live or argue or debate with these people like AOC and Jasmine Crockett. They quite literally hate us, as well as Ilhan Omar. There is no living alongside them. Now, this is not to say that we need to start a revolution or a civil war of any kind and just take these people out. I'm not suggesting that by no means. But what I am suggesting to you is the reason why you're seeing the younger population on the Republican right-wing side start to become adamantly pro-white and pro-Christian. This is why. Because the politics of saying, we welcome everyone, and I may be Christian, but I'm not going to push my Christianity onto you, and I may be white, but I'm accepting to all races, all cultures, whether you're trans, black, gay, whatever it is, come on in. This is America, and we can use the political process to battle our ideals out on paper, and somehow we will come out on the other side with who is more successful and who the most amount of people agree with will go to the front of the line. These are cases where We have people in our country now that are adamantly anti-American. They're adamantly anti-Christian and they're adamantly anti-white. And they're open about saying this and being this way. They don't hide it. We have to hide that we are pro-Christian, but they don't have to hide that they're anti-Christian. And they actually celebrate it. And it's actually what binds them together is being against Christianity and being against the white people in America. And now you're seeing a group in the Republican Party that is saying, okay, this is enough. This is nonsense. We can no longer go allowing these people to be open about their radical hatred for us. And yet we're not going to mention how, hey, we're sad that the country's becoming less white. That saddens us. We're not happy about it, whereas they are happy about it. The Republicans, the weak ones, will say, look, America's becoming less white. There's nothing we can do about it. Just drop it. Race doesn't matter. Who cares? Let's just go off into the sunset and enjoy what we had and just forget about it. We hope that these radical Democrats will come around to what we believe, but oh well, because that's the way our system was written and that's the way the laws are. And now you say, well, there's no way we can change that. The laws are written the way they are and there's nothing we can do. And unless we have a dictator of some kind or a civil war of some kind, well, then it's just going to be the way things are. But I disagree with that adamantly. And I think through the political structure, we can work to make giant changes. But it's gonna start with being openly pro-Christian and openly pro-white and define our team correctly, first of all, but also define it adamantly and make it known that we are out for the benefit of these people. We are not all the time going to be conservative and we are not all the time going to be progressive like the two parties seem to be. That's what they argue when there's times of policy. They argue the conservative policy or the progressive policy. We need to start diving into being what's good for America and what's good for Christian values. And some of the things as an action plan of what we can do to start moving in that direction as a country, because there's a lot of people that are online talking about this. They're saying, oh, they make fun of black people or they make fun of culture, different cultures in America. And they say, this is crazy. We're becoming less white and that's sad. And that's sad. And that's pretty much the end of their rant. And they talk about how the country's going to crap pretty much. But there's no action plan. There's no ideas of how we're going to turn it around. So even if you did have a sword and your shield and you're ready for battle, there's no leader to look to. And also, there's no battle to even be had. Because on one side, they know who their enemy is. It's the white man. It's the white people. It's the Christians. It's the real Americans. Whereas on our side, we don't have a clear enemy. We just know it's everyone that's against being white and being Christian. That's who we know. And we don't know where to battle. We don't know what to do. What do we vote? There's no one even to vote for. Trump is allowing H-1B visas to pour into our country. Trump is sold out to the Jewish people who don't believe in Christ. And so here is my action plan for you. It's going to include starting small and working our way up slowly. First, our country is built on the two-party system. Rather not built, but it's evolved into being a two-party system. And so we have to pick one of those two. Now, I would pick the Republican side. They seem to be pro-Christian and mostly white. Now, although they're not openly pro-Christian and pro-white, and recently they've accepted gays and everybody else and feminists separately, women who want to make fun of women who want to stay at home with their children and things like this. We can fix those minor issues, or at least work to. Now, some of the things you can do is you can research into your local area who your local party is, and you will have what's called a central committee, which is a group of people who run the party locally, and that's who endorses the people that get elected to city council and the supervisor district. Now, once you figure that out, then you're going to have to find people within all of the districts of the Central Committee, because Central Committee has a bunch of different districts within your town or within your county, and they pick like 5 to 10 people in those areas, depending on the population, to sit in the seats of Central Committee. So what you will have to work to do is finding people that are like-minded like you, that are pro-white, pro-Christian, and you will run them for those central committee seats, which will take you knocking on doors, making phone calls, potentially even trying to get in touch with donors who are also like-minded with you, and in order to raise money, in order to get the signs generated and everything you need in order to run these people for central committee. So that's step one of the political takeover of the Republican Party. Then after that, once you control the central committee, or at least you have the majority of the central committee under your like-minded views, you will then start to endorse candidates for the Republican Party that are share your views of being pro-white and pro-Christian. And to do that, you will need to find talent. You will need to find talented people who want to run for political office. Typically, these people are going to be business owners within your city and your county that want to help the city and the county out and want to better their community locally. Then, once you do this, these people will sit in those seats for a given amount of time. They will prove their talent and that they're actually worth a dang, pretty much. And they will be able to run for statewide offices like in the assembly. And they'll also be able to run for Senate at that point. Then, once they run for Senate and assembly, then they will be available to run for congressional seats and you can go to Congress. If we all do this and we start from the grassroots and work our way up slowly, this is going to take years. But I believe if we start now, in a few years from now, we could have candidates that were running in Washington. We can start to weed out some of the oligarchy that is within Washington now, and we're going to have major backlash, of course. But through that process, you are going to figure out what the political process is of America. And when you do that, you will find out that that the Republican Party today is actually not ran by Christian money. It's actually ran by Jewish money. And when you find that out, you will want to obviously reinstill the Christian money rather than the Jewish money. And that's what we hope to do because this country should be ran by Christian policies and reflect Christian values, not Jewish values. And there's been a funny trick that a lot of Republicans play recently where they try to mix the two, the Judeo-Christian values, if you've ever heard it 1,000 times. And we want to openly say we are against that entirely, and we want to reinstill the Christian church. Now, some of the policies that I've came up with on how we can actually make changes and enrich the church would be to replace the atheist viewpoint that the government has now and the viewpoint that we should separate church and state. So instead of giving grants and a lot of money from the government in order to help out institutions that have no God, that are just about, science, right? And they pay some younger girl who's in a college degree to go help drug addicts, which helps them not, it doesn't help them at all. The people who really help people are the people in the church that deliver to these people their spirit back and their soul back through God. That is how we help disenfranchised people like drug addicts on the street and homeless people. Now, the government doesn't want to pay those people because of separation of church and state. So what we would do is reinstill the church and enrich the church that way through governmental funds. So that would be the first thing we would start doing as the city council and the supervisor start to get power and able to actually move on initiatives that will empower the church. Step two, we would want to, through this political process, it's not really step two. This is kind of more like a step that you're going to find. This will probably be step two within the entire political process. You're going to want to build up clubs like Young Republicans and like these pretty much political PACs that are able to raise money from groups of people and give to candidates that are like-minded like you. And through doing this, I believe we could reshape the Republican Party to being pro-white and pro-Christian. Now, these things are kind of boring. I'll be honest with you. These are the political processes that are just kind of boring. And you have multiple aspects of the political process. You have your media, you have your fundraiser, you have your door knockers, you have your political PACs, you have people that know people in high places. You have all these people. So my ask to you, your call to action to you, is to start going down the path of getting politically involved. Start reaching out to some of your buddies. Maybe you have a buddy works at a CPA office. Maybe you have a buddy who works in the media. Maybe he has a YouTube, or maybe he has an Instagram like me, or maybe he's a news guy, news anchor. So he's a media guy. These are the ways that we're going to start infiltrating our own nation to take our nation back. This is where the war is. This is where the battleground is. And right now, our enemies are kicking our butts. And we're not even allowed to say what we are for. We are not even allowed to proclaim the name of Jesus Christ in politics anymore. As a Republican, we have lost the Republican Party entirely. They want us to not talk about abortion. They don't want us to talk about our Christian values. They don't want us to talk about racial aspects of this country. They don't want us to talk about our inheritance, because we've been taken over. The Republican Party and the Democrat Party are being ruled by a group of people who are not Christian, who are not of our ethnicity, and they don't want us to inherit our inheritance. So this is where we're going to win the battle. We are not going to win the battle by waiting for everything to get so bad that it burns to the ground and then we all grab our guns and go defend our families on the battlefield. That's not the way of the new world. The new world is a technological battle. It's a spiritual battle. It's a battle through influence, through beating them on the political stage, through argument, through debate, through going out in the open, through telling them that, hey, AOC and Jasmine Crockett are openly expressing hatred for Charlie Kirk because he's white and because he's Christian. And unless we are open about standing against that and being pro-white and pro-Christian, then we're never going to win. And that is what we need to do. That is the change we need to instill. Other people that are in the media, and I won't say names, seem to be doing a lot of infighting. They seem to be calling out their own people. We haven't even got up to bat yet. We haven't even ran a single candidate yet that has our views. There is a lot of work to be done before we start attacking each other and having infighting. We really can't even afford to have any type of infighting. So it's important that we stay clear on the message, and we stay clear on the plan, and we stay clear on where the battlefield is. Now, this is the time I'm going to ask you, contact me. We can organize. If you're in my local area, let's organize. Let's get this done. Let's do something. Let's make changes. It's not that the people within the Republican Party are not pro-Christian or pro-white. It's just that they're scared to be open about it because they've been convinced by the liberals and by the Democrats that you shouldn't be expressive of your true ideas. And you actually shouldn't take a stance at all because of cancel culture and everything else that they've done. But I'd like to say to you now, we can't be scared. We need the men to be running our party, not the women. The women have their place doing what they do, and the men have their place doing what they do. I don't mean that women don't have a place at all. I'm just saying that we are no longer going to take our balls, put them on the table, and crush them in front of the big Jewish donor in order for them to give us money so we can barely survive against the Democrats. Those days need to end. We need to have our own donors, our own Christian donors. We need to have our own people that want to take back America because they love America and its values. The old style, the old way of doing politics is done and gone. It's not going to work anymore. We have to elicit new ways of being involved in politics and being open and bold about our positions. And them voting against the Charlie Kirk resolution is just shows you one little bit of thing that they're doing to pretty much, they hate us. They openly hate us. They openly say, we want to extinguish whiteness. Those are the words they are using. And you look at our policies, they reflect what they're saying. They want us gone and dead. That's what they want. That is their whole political ideology. That is what they are all centered on. We have to center ourselves on being against that and proclaiming that America was founded by European settlers, like Charlie Kirk said, that America was founded on Christian principles, like our founding fathers said. And if you can't say that and you can't admit that, well, then maybe you don't have a place in the Republican Party as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, this is going to be your call to action day. I'm going to do this every Saturday. I'll just kind of come on here and give some few steps on what you can do and how you can get involved. If you have any questions, please contact me. We need to get some things done here, and we need to kick this war off, this political war, because we can't afford to not do it anymore. I mean, they have completely taken our country. They are at your door. There's 100 rapes in Paris per day, 60 of them which are underaged women of European descent, meaning they're white. What else do you need to be told? You wake up, you go to work every day, and you watch the country slip into nothingness. You watch AOC, you watch Jasmine Crockett spread their hate and division and ruin this nation. Ilhan Omar says the number one enemy to America is white men, and you do nothing. Not one phone call, not one door knocked. You don't help one bit. You don't get involved politically, but you're quick to comment on my Instagram posts. You're quick to get involved when there's something big happening and you want to show your American flag. You're quick to put out your Trump flag out front. Great. Thank you for doing that. But we need now to get involved on a massive scale and proclaim that Christ is king and that this country is for European descended people, and we're not going to let it burn to the ground. This is the Paint the Town Red podcast. We hope you have a wonderful day.